This morning, a Lansing community staple goes up in flames, the latest on the efforts to put out the fire.
Plus, new guidelines from the Trump administration to end what it calls the war on saturated fats.
WLNS is here for you, celebrating 75 years of bringing you the news with 6 News this morning.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, November 18th. I'm Kirk Montgomery.
And I'm Megan Vaselli. Thanks for waking up with us today. 6 News is here for you as you start your day. But first, here's Kendall with a quick check of your forecast.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Forecast First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
We'll have to keep an eye on road conditions across mid-Michigan as we go throughout the next several hours. Slick travel going to be likely as we move throughout the time for our Tuesday morning commute. We're already starting to see some reports of some sleet pellets over in portions of Calhoun County over near Battle Creek, so some slick travel already popping up over there. Notice across most of mid-Michigan, however, currently just dealing with those snow showers. Temperatures 32 degrees here in Lansing and Mason. Notice we're already warming up into the mid-30s in places like Charlotte as we continue to warm as we go throughout the rest of the day. Well, that slick travel will become a little bit more likely. We'll see decreasing impacts this afternoon and evening. Temperatures topping out in the mid-30s. I've got another full look at your forecast coming up in just a few minutes here.
This morning, the Frosty Corner ice cream shop is no more after a fire destroyed the community staple overnight.
Crews responded to the business at the intersection of South MLK and West Barnes just before 11 o'clock last night. 6
News was at the scene where a large group of first responders worked to battle the smoke and flames pouring from the building. We're told no one was inside at the time and there are no reported injuries, but Lansing fire officials tell us the building is a total loss.
As of this morning, investigators believe the fire started from a gas meter and now are working to rip out the walls and ceiling to find any hidden hot spots. Be sure to stay with 6 News for continuing coverage of this still developing story. The father of 3 Southeast Michigan boys who've been missing for 15 years will be back in court next week.
Now, until then, he'll remain behind bars on a $60 million bond.
John Skelton was set to be released from prison next week after serving a 15-year sentence. His 3 sons were last seen on November 25th, 2010. The following year, Skelton pleaded no contest to 3 counts of unlawful imprisonment over failure to return the boys from a court-ordered visitation. But now he's accused of killing them, and yesterday was arraigned on 3 counts of murder and 3 counts of tampering with evidence. Back in March, a judge formally declared the 3 boys dead at the request of their mother. Skelton will be back in court Monday for a probable cause hearing.
This morning, we have more details on Christian Nwabo. He's the Lansing landlord repeatedly accused of housing code violations. We now expect to see him back in court next month after he failed to bring properties up to code for a hearing yesterday. Now, earlier this year, the city of Lansing filed several lawsuits against him, claiming 8 of his properties did not comply with city codes. As of September, 7 of those properties still did not meet the city's housing standards, and a judge fined him $500 for each one. Then at yesterday's hearing, there were still violations and a judge ordered him to pay even more in fines. Now a hearing is scheduled for December 22nd to review the status of those properties. A federal judge is accusing Justice Department prosecutor Lindsay Halligan of misconduct, saying there was, quote, disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps in the indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. The judge also accused Halligan of using old evidence seized from a search warrant in a separate case to convince grand jurors to charge Comey rather than seeking a new search warrant in a race to avoid breaching the 5-year statute of limitations.
I think what the judge wants to know is what exactly did she say to the grand jury? And did she, in fact, misstate the law and potentially mislead the grand jury as it was making its decision to approve this indictment?
However, Halligan says that the judge might have misunderstood part of what happened when she presented the case.
Today, the House is expected to vote on a bill calling for the Justice Department to release all of its files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
President Trump, who previously opposed the idea, now says he's all for it. But as Bradley Blackburn reports, he also said he believes the matter is a, quote, Russian hoax.
I think it'll be a large vote out.
In Washington, the House is expected to vote today on the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and it's expected to have at least the 2/3 majority needed to pass.
I think the public has the right to know.
This isn't about President Trump. I mean, this is about women who are seeking justice and finally getting it.
A bipartisan group was already pushing toward this vote when President Trump Sunday changed his position and said he now supports releasing the files, though he still says the Epstein issue is a hoax.
It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax.
Questions about the president's ties with Epstein were renewed last week after the release of emails from the late convicted sex trafficker and one-time Trump friend. The president has said they had a falling out more than a decade ago, and he had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes. If the measure passes, it would go to the Senate, where the majority leader hasn't yet promised to take it up. Monday night, the words "release the files now" were projected onto the Justice Department, and some lawmakers are concerned that the president's push for new investigations into the Epstein case could limit what's released.
They may be trying to use those investigations as a predicate for not releasing the files.
Some survivors of Epstein's abuse are expected to speak outside the Capitol Tuesday morning ahead of the House vote. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says we can expect to see new guidelines next month that will end what he calls the war on saturated fats. Just last month, Kennedy discussed the guidelines we'll overhaul with the Trump administration's Make America Healthy Again initiative and says Americans need to eat more foods high in saturated fats. But health experts say this can cause a higher risk for high cholesterol levels and heart disease. The guidelines are expected to recommend Americans consume more butter, cheese, milk, and red meat, supporting what he calls a carnivore diet.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather on the Sixes, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
A quick moving area of low pressure is going to bring some messy precipitation to our region as we go throughout the rest of our Tuesday. You'll notice on Live Storm Tracker 6 Doppler radar already looking fairly messy across the region this morning. We have snow showers for most of us along and south of I-96, but notice over towards portions of Calhoun and Branch County, already seeing that wintry mix of rain, sleet, and snow. So some slick travel already being reported in places like Coldwater and Battle Creek. That'll become more widespread as we go throughout the rest of the day. Temperatures outside right now mainly sitting in the low 30s. We're at 32 degrees in Lansing and Mason, falling down into the upper 20s over in Owasso, and we're right at 30 degrees over in Howell. High temperatures for today will make it up into the mid-30s across mid-Michigan. Once we get past 10 o'clock, that's when our temperatures warm into the mid-30s. Going to see decreasing impacts across the region by then, and there is still some good news to look forward to as we go throughout the rest of the work week. Temperatures eventually going to return right back above average into the mid to upper 40s as we move throughout our Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Really going to be the pick of the 6-day forecast. High temperatures approaching 50 degrees by then.